If you are able to understand what exactly the cloud is, then we are able to easily guess why there is a huge demand for the AWS. Not only for AWS, I think there are a lot of cloud technologies available in the market, right? What are the competitors for AWS? Microsoft Azure, right? Nowadays, there are huge openings for the Azure also. And apart from the Azure, we have a Google Cloud, which is a Google's cloud platform. These three are the actual cloud technologies. All these three will work in the same way. But whatever the cloud is, the technologies will be the same, might be in the underlying architecture, might be different. Generally, if you go for any company, what they do have a lot of servers. Each and every server will provide some kind of a services, right? Keeping all these things aside, let us say you have a small website, very small website, like with a 2 pages or 3 pages, a simple website, and you would like to host that website for the people, like in like a yahoo.com or rediff.com, there is some website. So how can we maintain that website? We call that as a hosting, website hosting, right? What exactly we need to host a website? Server. First, what is the server? Or what is the opposite to the server? Server is also nothing but a machine, right? It might have some kind of additional features or some kind of fast performance, something like that. So we have a server and a client. So what is a client? Any computer, like I am using my laptop, right? That is a client. By using my laptop, I'm going to utilize the services, right? Like I can access the websites, I can access some online stores and everything. So that's why we will call this as a client machine. Server means whatever the machine we will use to maintain some services, like a website hosting or an online store maintenance or database server maintenance. For all these things, we require a machine, and that machine is called as a server. Let us say you have a developer and he designed a kind of a website, a simple HTML website, or a PHP website or whatever it is, right? Being an administrator, our job is to make this website up and running. And being an administrator, we don't design any website or any applications, but our job is to maintain the website. So to maintain a website, what exactly we need? A web server. Web server is nothing but a software. Let us say you have a PDF document. How to open the PDF document? You must need some kind of a PDF reader, right? Without having a PDF reader, you cannot open. You might say like, if I have a Chrome browser, I can open. But because the Chrome browser provides the PDF reader facility. Let us say you have an Excel sheet, Microsoft Excel. To open that Excel, you must have MS Office or some compatible software, right? Without having an appropriate tool, you cannot open such kind of a files. In the same way, to run this particular website, you must require a web server. Can you name few web servers? Apache, Tomcat, then what else? Microsoft IaaS is there. Yeah, Jetty. Those are all the web servers. So what we do, we install a software, which is a web server. On top of that, we will place the web pages in a specific folder so that your website will be up and running. So anybody can access the website. So to install this particular software, what is the requirement? Operating system. Along with this software, sometimes it requires some dependencies also. Let us say you are hosting a Tomcat application, which is written in Java, so that you will use a Tomcat web server, and it might require some kind of a Java runtime environment. Those are called as dependencies. So without having the appropriate dependencies, your applications might not work properly. And to install the software and the dependencies, it must require an operating system. What is that operating system? The Windows 7, Windows 10, these are the regular operating systems, what we know. Apart from that, apart from these two, do you guys know any other operating systems? Linux, Ubuntu. Ubuntu is also Linux, right? We have two flavors. One is a Windows and the one is Unix. In the Unix, we have a lot of versions like Ubuntu, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, CentOS, Debian OS, Fedora. There are n number of operating systems available, right? Okay, you must require an operating system. To install this operating system, what we need? To install the operating system, what exactly we need? Keeping the operating system aside, where we have to install. Let us say you install the operating system. Where it will be installed? On a storage, right? We call it as a hard disk. On the hard disk, the operating system will be installed. And directly, we cannot communicate with any hard disk. Let us say if I gave you a pen drive, and if I ask you to copy some files without having an operating system, you cannot communicate with the hardware. To communicate with the hardware, the operating system acts as an interpreter between the user and the hardware, right? And along with the storage, whenever this operating system is doing something, it is going to execute some instructions, right? To perform those instructions, we have few more components called CPU and RAM. And then we need some kind of a power supply. Let us say this entire thing is called as a server. So to host or to maintain a simple website, you need to take care of all these things. So now, if I would like to maintain a website, first I need to purchase one server in the market and assume that you successfully placed a website and the website is accessed by all the people from anywhere across the globe. So here the major important thing is that website must be up and running 24/7, right? If you see google.com or yahoo.com, those websites are accessible 24/7 and from anywhere across the globe. So what is the necessary things to maintain your website up and running? And that website must be accessible from anywhere across the globe. Let us say if I ask you to browse yahoo.com from your mobile phone, will you be able to access it? What is the reason for that? Or what exactly you need to access the website? You need an internet, right? Without having an internet, you cannot browse the websites or something. In the same way, to provide that website to be accessible, this server must have an internet connection. What is the meaning of an internet? Internet is nothing but the connection or the combination of multiple networks. Website is in one network and your laptop is in another network and my laptop is in another network. With the help of internet, all these networks are able to communicate with each other. So how many of you know like intercoms? What we can do with the intercom? Within the same building or same office, we can make the calls. We cannot make any outgoing calls, right? Because that is only meant for internal network. But by using the mobile phone or landline phone with STD facility or ISD facility, we can make the calls to any number. In the same way, by using the internet, you can communicate with anything across the globe. And to make the website is available for all the time, you are responsible to maintain that internet 24/7 without fail. And power supply also. If there is no power, then the server is not running and the website is not accessible. So before cloud, this entire setup we use to maintain in the offices and we call it as on-premises data center. What is the meaning of a data center? Data center is nothing but a server room in which the servers will be maintained. Technically, we can call it as a data center. So do you guys know like what exactly the components available in a data center? If you see a data center, it contains multiple servers and all servers will be connected with each other. For that, it requires some kind of a networking components like switches, routers, and for internet facility, they do provide some kind of modems. And for security, they maintain some kind of a firewalls and VPN devices. There are n number of things available. That entire thing is called as infrastructure. That is called as infrastructure. Whatever the infrastructure is provided in the data center, by using the infrastructure, the people can utilize the services. Here, the biggest challenge with the on-premise data center is maintenance. Maintenance, because for maintaining the power supply, you need to maintain a team and the team must work 24/7. And for internet, again, you have to maintain some kind of redundant internet connections. Like you need to maintain multiple internet connections. And if one thing is down or one thing is not working, automatically the other internet connection should provide the internet facility. And to maintain that, you have to maintain a separate team called network administrators. What they do, they will continuously maintain the network and all networking components. And then sometimes your hardware might get failed because they are physical components, right? So you have to maintain some kind of a system administration team or a hardware team who is going to resolve all the issues. Let us say suddenly the hard disk got failed, then your server will goes down, right? To face this kind of a situations, they will maintain a standby server. A spare machine will be maintained. Whenever it is down, they will make it up and they will provide the services from the other server. So here, instead of spending on a single server, you have to spend some money on multiple servers. Like initial investment will be huge. Initial investment will be huge. And the maintenance will be very high. And you have to maintain a separate team for each and every component. At that time, the cloud computing came into the picture, and no need to maintain any servers or a data center in your office. Everything will be maintained in the cloud. Now, what exactly the cloud is? The cloud computing is nothing but some other persons will maintain with 100 GB storage, 4 CPU, and 16 GB of a RAM. This is my requirement. So what I do, I will go to the cloud computing like AWS or Microsoft Azure or something, and I can create one server with these requirements. Within couple of minutes, my server will be ready and it will up and running. And Amazon will take care of the entire hardware. Amazon will take care of the infrastructure. Amazon will take care of the power supply, internet connectivity, and everything. Just you're responsible of your web pages to be hosted. Just you have to design your web pages. All these components will be maintained by the cloud provider. Almost we can reduce a lot of money by removing the unnecessary teams, right? No need to maintain a power maintenance team. No need to maintain like hardware team, right? Networking team will be maintained by Amazon itself because we don't access it. Just we have to reduce the persons in the network team. We need few, but not like as earlier, no need to work in the 24/7. Just in one shift, they can work to create the network in the cloud. We have to create the network in the cloud, but Amazon will maintain the entire physical components and all the things. So going forward in the actual sessions, we can see like how to create the network or how to create a server or that different types of services available. Basically, the cloud computing is to provide the high availability, high security, and high scalability. I think everybody might know about availability. What is the high availability means? What is the meaning of high availability? Like at any time that service must exist, right? Okay, I will give a simple example. Let us say you are going for your some kind of a final exam. Okay, so how you will prepare for the exam? Keeping the preparation, studying, what exactly the items you will take? Generally, we write the exam with a pen, right? Instead of taking a single pen, we will go with multiple pens, right? Why we will take multiple pens for the exam? If one not works, then we can use the other one. So in the same way, in the cloud computing, the cloud provider will maintain a standby instance for your server or service. That is what exactly the high availability means. If one server goes down, immediately your server will be recreated with a standby instance and the downtime will be reduced. Your website will be highly available or your server will be highly available. 24/7, 365 days, you can configure your server or services will be available for the end users. But nobody will give you the 100% availability. Almost all cloud providers are offering 99.99% of high availability. And what is the meaning of a scalability? Increasing. Not only the increasing or decreasing. In the previous example, I took a server, like a computer, with a 4 CPU and a 16 GB of a RAM and 100 GB of a storage, right? After a few days, I observed that my website is not performing properly. Like whenever the users are accessing, they are loading the page with delay. So whenever I log into the server and whenever I monitor, the CPU utilization is almost like 90%. 90% of the CPU is getting utilized. Have you ever observed more CPU utilization on your laptops? So at time, whatever you try to open, it will take a lot of time to open, right? Even if you open your my computer, it will take some few seconds to open. In the same way, whenever the CPU utilization is very high, the response will be very least. So the users will not get the high performance. So what is the solution for that? We have to increase the number of CPU. If I increase the 4 CPU to 8 CPU, then again the CPU utilization will come down to 50 or 40, and the users will be able to load the pages with high speed. That is possible. Like you can increase the resources, or you can increase the CPU, memory, and storage at any time. And if you feel that always the CPU utilization is 10%, that means I don't need those many CPUs. So I can reduce the CPU and memory also, just to save some money. Whether you use it or not, if you allocate, if you take the CPUs, the cloud provider will charge us. So how they will charge, everything we can discuss in detail. So that is called as a scalability. Also, Amazon also offers auto scaling. What is the meaning of auto scaling? Automatically the scaling process will happen. So we can configure that whenever the CPU is going more than 80%, increase the resources. Whenever the CPU is less than 20%, reduce the resources. That's how we can configure to achieve the auto scale. So let us say in the midnight, the CPU got going more than 90%. So we are not aware, right? We will not be aware of that because we were in the midnight. So because of this auto scaling, automatically the resources will be increased to accommodate more number of users. I think generally, whenever these online stores offer some discounts, if you observe, sometimes if you try to open the page, you will get some kind of errors, right? The page is not loading or something, because they are expecting or they are experiencing more load on the server. So they will configure such kind of a auto scaling or some kind of a schedule scaling. Let us say I'm going to announce some offers from Saturday morning 6 a.m. So I will schedule an auto scaling like at 5 a.m. on that day. So before announcing the offers or before announcing that sale start, my resources will be automatically increased and the sale will end on the Saturday night, midnight 12. Then I can configure schedule scaling to reduce the number of resources also. Based on that automatic scaling, we can achieve the high performance by using the high scalability. Wherever you go for your production servers, the most important thing is high availability, high scalability, and high reliability. Also the security. Security will be in our hands. We have to configure the security. Then what is this reliability? Reliability or redundancy, what is the meaning of that? Let us say you are storing some data in the cloud. Suddenly something happened on the data center, like there is some fire accident or earthquake or some floods or something. What will happen to your data? Does the cloud is able to recover all your data? That depends on the reliability. Every cloud provider is going to provide you high reliability or high redundancy. How they will maintain that is, your data will be maintained in multiple locations as a multiple copies. Multiple copies of your data will be maintained in multiple locations, so that if one location got affected, your data will be restored or accessible from a different location. That entire thing we will discuss in the global infrastructure, because everything is possible based on the infrastructure of the cloud. How they maintain the infrastructure, where exactly they maintain their data center, how many data centers they do have, and what are the technical terms. In every location, they call it as a region. So how many data centers are there? Because to maintain the high availability, they must own multiple data centers in different places in the same geographical location. So why to maintain across different geographical locations? Because there are some kind of data compliancy rules. Let us say you're working for a company which is a financial company or a banking sector. So as per the RBI guidelines, the Indian banks should not store their data outside of the India. So whatever the servers they create, they must exist in the India. Geographically, they must exist in India. Let us say you are working for a company which is a European company. As per their data compliancy standards, their servers and the data must run in the European countries only. They should not maintain their servers outside of Europe. That is the reason Amazon will maintain the data centers across the globe. And they do call it as a region. Across the globe, Amazon is having 26 regions, and every region contains 3 or more data centers. They are called as availability zones. All these things we can discuss in the global infrastructure. Because of that kind of infrastructure, Amazon is able to provide you the high availability, high reliability, and scalability. Now, so this is the basic overview of the cloud. Instead of maintaining the servers or services in your office, just we are running them in some other data center. And the data center belongs to some third-party provider like AWS. AWS will purchase the server for you and we don't pay any money. So like how to pay? Based on your usage. If you use a server for only 1 hour, you will be charged for 1 hour only. No need to pay for the entire month, or no need to pay like 50% money to buy the server or something. That means we are going to reduce the total initial investment. In other terms, we call it as cost of ownership. To own that server, the total cost to spend on that particular server will be reduced almost by like 90%. Because to buy a server in India, a medium server, it might cost like 7 to 8 lakhs. But the same server I can create for free, and just I have to pay based on my usage. Because like I have a requirement only for 1 month. So for 1 month requirement, I don't want to spend like 8 to 9 lakhs to purchase a server. Because like after 3-4 years, that server might be outdated, right? The CPU might be outdated and the performance might goes down. That's why almost all the companies are preferring to use the cloud for newly created services. And most of the companies are migrating their on-premises data centers to the cloud. So in this AWS sessions, what exactly we are going to learn? Do you guys know what are the career paths in the AWS? AWS is not a single technology. Do you guys know like what are the different career paths available? Okay. So first, based on, if you talk about the certification point of view, there are 4 levels of certifications available that we can see later. But let me give you the different career paths. One is architect. What is the meaning of an architect? Forget about AWS. In general, what is the meaning of architect? What they can do? They will design something, right? If he is a civil architect, he will design the, like what we call the building and everything, right? In the same way, in the solutions, in the AWS, being a solutions architect, you are going to design the infrastructure for the AWS cloud. What is the infrastructure contains? The network, servers, and there are a lot of components. Storage, databases. Have you heard about like load balancer? Load balancers. All these components will be created on the infrastructure only. So first career path will be architect. On Amazon, we call them as solutions architect. Right now in the market, this solutions architect is having more demand. And apart from this, there is one more career path called DevOps. Do you guys know what is a DevOps? At least, have you heard about the DevOps term? What exactly the DevOps is? I think everywhere we are going to hear the term called DevOps. It can be a core DevOps, AWS DevOps, Azure DevOps, whatever it is, that doesn't matter. DevOps is a DevOps. What is a DevOps? Development and operations. What is the meaning of the development and operations? Because those two are not a single department. Those two are two different departments or two different technologies. Okay, okay, kind of. Generally, what the developers will do, they will design the application, they will develop the code and everything, right? And what is the operations team will do? Let us say I designed one application and you are trying to purchase my application. So am I able to give that code directly? Let us say you are purchasing antivirus softwares, right? Have you ever got the source code of the antivirus? No. Just you will get some installer. By installing that, you can run the antivirus software. So this operations team, what they do is generally they will create a build file, which is an installer, and that has to be installed, and then it has to be monitored. Whenever the application is running, it has to be monitored, and if they observe some issues, those issues will be reported back to the development team so that they will rectify those issues in the next version or next release. So these DevOps team, what they do is they will integrate the development process with the operations, and they will automate the entire process. Whenever the developer release a new code, automatically that will be pulled into the build system, and a new release build or new daily build like installer.txt file will be generated, and then it will be automatically installed into some test servers, and then it will be automatically monitored, and if there is some issue, it will create some alerts. Everything will be automated in the DevOps. DevOps is also like most demand technology in the market as of now. That might continue for the next couple of years also. Without a DevOps, there will be no product release and nothing. Okay, in the olden days, there is no separate team called DevOps. Like if you go back like 6-7 years back, there is no separate team called DevOps, only operations team. They will do everything manually. And now these guys are doing everything as an automation. So to become a DevOps, do we need to learn some coding? Not exactly. Not exactly. Just you need to understand the code. Like if you see something, you have to guess what it is. That's it. Because we don't write any coding or something, but we need to know some kind of a scripting, like shell scripting, Python or PowerShell, whatever it is, that doesn't matter. If you know one scripting language, it is easy to understand the other scripting languages. Why to use a scripting? Just to automation, just to automate the things. That is anyways, that is for the DevOps. For the AWS solutions architect, there is no requirement of any coding. We don't do any coding and we don't do any development. Just we are going to focus on infrastructure creation and administration of that infrastructure. So these two are the careers, and then we have a developer career also. That doesn't mean that you don't, Amazon doesn't ask you to learn some coding in the AWS. Let us say you are a Java developer. So to design your application, you are going to use the tools available in AWS. Let us say you are some .NET developer. Then you have to use the tools available in the AWS. And the developer is the least demand in the AWS. And then we have a specialty kind of a certifications available, like machine learning, big data, network specialty. Those are completely different level, and they are like advanced category. Right now, most of the people and most of the companies are looking for solutions architect and DevOps. In this course, we are going to focus on completely onto the solutions architect. Whatever the topics required for the solutions architect, that we cover. And apart from that, we will cover few important services which are used in the day-to-day operations. Like there are some developer tools like Elastic Beanstalk. There are some DevOps tools like CloudFormation, Lambda. Such kind of day-to-day used services we will cover in the AWS sessions even though they are not required for the solutions architect. Coming to the certifications that we can discuss in detail going forward, just I would like to mention that in this particular course, we are going to focus 100% on the solutions architect. And apart from that, we are going to focus on few other services required for the developer and DevOps. Because almost like 50% of the topics are common for the AWS solutions architect and the DevOps team also. There are very few like code commit, code build, code integration. There are few services available, like 6 to 7 services. They are required for as additional for the DevOps. Apart from that, all other topics are common for solutions architect and DevOps. So how this kind of curriculum will be is the entire sessions will be taken by considering everyone is a kind of like a beginner. You might already know something about like what is the cloud computing or what is the AWS. So initially for like 2 to 3 days, such kind of a guys might feel bored, but majority of the people will be like a kind of a beginner background. So that's why the entire sessions will be focusing by considering that everyone will be a beginner. So first thing, even though we are going to discuss about the cloud, first we need to understand how the infrastructure will be, right? So have you ever heard about server client technology? Server client technology. What is that server client technology? If you go for any company, they will maintain all the machines in a network using the server client technology. The same setup, we are moving into the cloud, right? So you must know what is that server client technology. So to understand that server client technology, whatever is required, that we will discuss in the first session. We call it as server client technology and all the basic requirements, including the networking, some kind of networking basics, like the basics we will cover here. And after that, we have one more topic called VPC. At that time, we will discuss in detail about the IP addressing and networking concepts. Whatever is required to understand the server client technology, that we will cover in the first session. And before that, do we need to have any prerequisites to learn AWS? Not required. Just a basic understanding about like how to use a computer. That is more than enough. Because whatever the requirements we need to learn, that we are going to cover in the basics. Once we are done with the server client technology, then we will start with cloud computing introduction. Like what is cloud computing? Different types of cloud computing platforms, like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, functionality as a service. There are different things available. And also there are different types of clouds available, like a public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud. Those are the things we are going to cover in the cloud computing introduction. In the cloud computing introduction, we will cover all the basic requirements for the cloud computing. Like what are the advantages? Is there any disadvantages? If yes, what are those disadvantages? How the cloud computing model works, the pricing or the maintenance, accessibility, security, everything we will discuss in the cloud computing model. And then we will start discussing about the AWS. And first we will start with AWS global infrastructure. So what is the commitment of the AWS and what exactly they are providing you? And to provide those commitments, what exactly their infrastructure looks like what are the different data centers available, where exactly they do have the data centers, everything we will cover in this particular AWS global infrastructure. Up to here, everything will be the theoretical part. From this topic, every topic is a practical base. From here, every service or every topic what we cover, everything will be a practical oriented. And one thing I would like to mention here is, whatever you learn in the AWS, if you don't do the practical, after a few days, you might forget everything. It is more into the practicals. Theory is less, practical will be more. Always, every topic we have to do the practical. Because whenever you attend the theoretical session, you feel that I understood everything. But if you don't implement the same as a practical, there is a high chances that you might forget after a couple of days. So always it is recommended to do the practicals on a daily basis, or at least over the weekends, you have to complete whatever we covered on the weekdays. That is a recommended way to learn not only the AWS, any technology. That is the recommended way or the best way to learn the things. And for the practicals, what we need, what exactly we need to do the practicals? Do we need to have some kind of a high-end machine? Not required. A basic computer with the internet connection is more than enough. Whatever the laptop or a desktop, whatever you use to browse the internet, that is more than enough. With a 4 GB of RAM, Windows 7 or higher, that is more than enough. With the i3, good. If you have a dual core or core duo, you can manage. Whatever the laptop you can use to browse the internet, that is enough. Because we don't create anything in our machine. Everything we are creating in the cloud, but to create that, we are going to use our laptop. Just we are using the laptop as a mediator to communicate with the cloud. So a basic computer with internet is enough. Now, I said that we don't create anything in our laptop. We don't do any practicals, right? So to do the practicals in the cloud, how to do that? Amazon is going to offer you a free tier account, which is almost free for the first year. First year, technically speaking, 12 months. Technically speaking, 12 months. 12 months is free account, not 100% free. There are few services which are available on a chargeable basis. While we discuss about the services, I will let you know like how to use those services. By any chance, if you got the bill, how can we waive off the bill? Like if you write a support ticket to the Amazon support team that you are using this account for practice purpose, they will give you a credit waiver where no need to pay any amount. Like once or twice that will work. That we will utilize for the paid services. There are few paid services like 3 or 4. In that particular such situation, we will use that particular advantage not to get billed. So almost all the topics we can complete without any charges. If there is any charge, that will not be more than 400 to 500 rupees, which can be waived off by Amazon if you create a support ticket. So now in this free tier account, like how to create the free tier account, that we will see first, because without having an Amazon cloud account, we cannot do any practicals. So in these classes, we are going to understand the basic architecture of the cloud and how it will work. And we will create one Amazon cloud account for the practicals. Then we will step into the actual services. The first service will be Identity Access Management. Identity Access Management. We call it as IAM, in which we are going to learn about users, groups, policies, and roles. Let us say in any company, you will not be the only person, right? There might be multiple employees will be there. That doesn't mean that we will create separate Amazon account for every employee. The same account will be shared with multiple employees with their own username and password. And every employee requires a different level of permissions. Let us say I might require only read-only permission. You might require read and write permission. Someone might require read and write permission on only few services, right? So to manage such kind of a thing, we have to use the service called Identity Access Management. This is the service from which we can maintain or we can provide the security to your entire Amazon cloud. By using this Identity Access Management, you can provide the security of your Amazon account. If you do some mistake here, your account will be vulnerable, so that someone might log into your Amazon account by cracking your username and password. So in this, we will check about how to provide a password policy. Like if you go for some kind of banking sections like net banking, they will force you to maintain minimum 13 characters as a password. It must contain one capital letter, one lower letter, right? How to create such kind of password policies. And there are some kind of multi-factor authentication. Do you guys know what is a multi-factor authentication? I think everybody might using that. Like whenever you do some kind of a net banking, along with your username and password, that is a single step verification. Whenever you do some transaction, it will ask you for the OTP, right? That is the second step validation. That is also called as multi-factor authentication that we can enable on your Amazon account. So instead of logging in with the username and password, the user has to provide one more additional verification step so that even someone guess your password, they cannot log in without providing that 6-digit secure code. So all these things we can do on the IAM to secure your Amazon account. Once we are done with this, then we will discuss about a next topic called Elastic Compute Cloud, which is EC2. EC2 is a service in which you will get the servers. In the previous example, we discussed that to maintain a website, we need a server, right? From where we can get the server? From here. In this EC2, we have a lot of options available, lot of services, lot of components like security group, key pairs, AMIs, instance types, purchasing models, instance families. We have a lot of things to discuss. This single service might take 5 to 6 classes to complete. We can say like 1 week to complete this single session. And once we are done with this, then we will go into a storage option. We have a type of a storage called Elastic Block Store, EBS, because this server requires some kind of a hard disk, right? Like 100 GB storage, 500 GB storage, or 1000 GB, 10,000 GB. Different people will have a different requirements. That storage or the hard disk will be provided by this Elastic Block Store. Again, here, there are different types of storages available. Do you guys know in the market, what are the different types of hard disk available? I'm not talking about external hard drives. Let us take the internal hard drive or external hard drive, any one thing. What are the different categories of storage available? SSD. I think everybody heard about SSD, right? And what is the other one? Not a pen drive. HDD. That is called as a magnetic drives. SSD stands for solid state drives. The solid state drives will provide you the high performance. So depending on your requirement for your servers, you can select the different types of Elastic Block storages. There are like 7 different types of storages available. Each and every type will provide you different types of performance characteristics. One will provide you like high data transfer speeds. Other will provide you high input and output operations per second. What is that IOPS? What is that throughput? That we will discuss in that particular session. And this is a block-based storage. This EBS storage can be used as a hard disk to your servers. Once we are done with this, we will go with another concept called simple storage service. This is also a storage option, but this is an object-based storage. What is that object-based storage? Just I will compare this S3 with one service available in the market. I think everybody knows about Google Drive, right? What we can do with the Google Drive? We can store some data. You can maintain the data as a private, or you can make it public, or you can share it with only few people also, right? The same way you can use the simple storage service. That is a storage to store your objects, and you can share it with anybody, or you can share it with a specific people, or you can keep it with yourself only. And on that simple storage service, we have a lot of features available. You can host a static website hosting. We have a feature called encryption and replication rules. lifecycle rules, object logs. There are a lot of features available on S3. To cover this S3, it will take again 1 week. EC2 will take 1 week and S3 will take 1 week because they do have a lot of features available. And the one more thing is MFA delete. Like we can restrict the users not to delete the object. We have a lot of individual features available on S3 service. After this, the next topic will be the cloud front. These are the major topics. In each and every topic, we have a lot of subtopics available. Like S3, it has like 6 to 7 topics, which might take almost like 1 week to complete the single S3 topic. Cloud front, which is a type of a content delivery network. If you go back to like 2010 or 2008, whenever you access any website with high-speed internet, the website will take a lot of time to load, right? Why? Any guess? You have a high-speed internet connection, but still the website will load very slowly. Server. The server is a high-end server, which has like 24 CPU and 128 GB of RAM. Storage. Storage is also SSD. What else? Have you ever heard about a term called latency? Latency. I will give you the meaning of a latency. Let us say, if I send a request, I will receive a response. Whenever you are accessing a website, what is the meaning of that? You will type the google.com in your browser and I will click on enter, right? So your request will be sent to the Google server and the Google server will send a response as a web page. The time taken to send a request and to receive a response is called as a latency. If the latency is high, then the performance will be low. What is the meaning of a latency is high? If the time takes to send a request and to receive a response is high, obviously it will take more time to load, right? When it will take more time to receive a response. When it will take a lot of time to receive a response from the server. If it is far away from the user, right? Let us say the website is running in the US. And if I am trying to access the website from India, it might take, let us say 20 milliseconds to load. If the same website is accessed by a user from the US, it will be loaded within 2 milliseconds or 3 milliseconds. Because he is very close and the time takes to transfer the data will be less. That's why in the olden days, we do have a lot of time to load a web page. But with the help of this CloudFront, what we can do is we can reduce that latency and we can improve the performance of the website. How? The Amazon CloudFront will maintain the copy of your website across the globe in some locations. We call it as edge locations. By using the CloudFront, we can improve the performance of your websites by maintaining a copy of your website in some locations across the globe. Have you heard about like cache? Cache, browser's cache. What is that? The copy of the website will be loaded in your browser's cache. And if it is not cleared, whenever you try to access the same website, the web page will be loaded from your browser, not from the actual website. That's why whenever the developers modified some code, they clear the cache and they will try to load the web page. Then they will get the fresh copy from the server. So by using the CloudFront, we can provide the better performance to your websites. And then we have a concept of elastic load balancer. Load balancer means instead of maintaining a single server, we can maintain multiple servers and we can distribute the load across multiple people. Let us say there is one person who is going to answer all the queries. Let us say there are 50 people who is asking the questions continuously. So he cannot manage, right? So if I maintain 2 people to answer the queries, they can easily handle. And if someone goes on leave, the other person can handle, right? If I am maintaining only one person to answer the questions, if that person is on leave, nobody will be there to answer the questions. By using this load balancer, you can maintain the high availability and you can maintain the load balancing also. If one of your server got crashed, the other server will provide the services to all the users. So that's how you can maintain the load balancer to improve the performance and to maintain the high availability. In this load balancer, we have 4 different types of a load balancers. One is the application load balancer, network load balancer, classic load balancer, and gateway load balancer. We will discuss about each and every load balancer, and we will deploy one load balancer with a simple website, and we will verify whether the load is getting distributed or not. And then if one server goes down, what will happen to the users? Automatically, do they connect to the healthy server, like running server, or not? Then we have the next concept called auto scaling, by using which automatically we can increase the resources and we can decrease the resources. This is called as horizontal scaling. Horizontal scaling, that is a type of automatic scaling. If you are doing manually on your servers, that will be a kind of a vertical scaling. Those things we can discuss in that particular specific topics. Up to here, I can say we will complete 50% of the topics. And after this, we will cover, we have one more concept called elastic file system, which is a kind of network file system, EFS. That is a very small topic. After that, we will discuss about network and networking basics. And also we will discuss about what is IP addressing. In that, we will discuss about IP version 4, because that is the version we are going to use in our cloud. Then we will create one VPC. The next topic will be virtual private cloud. For this topic, the IP addressing and the networking basics are required. That's why before starting this topic, we will cover the required basics. And this is the heart of the entire cloud. If you don't know about this VPC, there is no use of learning any other topics. Because without having this VPC, you cannot create your servers, you cannot maintain your servers, you cannot maintain anything in the cloud. This VPC is nothing but the data center in the cloud, like server room in the cloud. Without having a server room, where we can place our servers, right? So the VPC is the most important topic. In that, we have to discuss a lot of concepts like what is a VPC, what is a network, subnet, route tables, routes, NACL, VPC peering. If I read all the topics, that will be a little bit complicated and most of the people will get confused, but they're very simple to understand. We will try to understand each and every concept with the real life examples, so that will be very easy to understand. After this, we have to cover a small topic called Route 53. Have you ever heard about like DNS or a domain registrar? What is the domain registrar? There is a google.com web page, right? Website name, that is a domain name. Technically, we call that google.com, yahoo.com as a domain name. From where they got that particular names? What if you need one website name for yourself? From where you can get that? You have to register the domain name from a domain registrar. There is a GoDaddy and Big Rock, Namecheap. These are the popular domain registrars. So the Route 53 will provide the same domain registration service and as well as DNS. Let us say if you type the google.com, you will be able to access the website, right? But the website will be maintained with the help of an IP address. But this DNS acts as a phone book in your mobile phone. What is the use of a phone book? You can save your friend's number with the name, So instead of dialing the number, you can dial the name and you can make a call. So that automatically the call will be connected to that particular mobile number. In the same way, the DNS, we will create the records like google.com IP address is this. So whenever the users type google.com, automatically they will be connected to that IP address in the backend and they are able to access the websites. That is the use case of the DNS. In this Route 53, we will see how to register a domain name and how to create the records so that the users can access my website with the website name instead of the IP address. Okay, right. After this, we have another concept called relational database services, where the databases will be available. SQL databases. There are 6 databases available: MySQL, PostgreSQL, and MariaDB, Oracle, Microsoft SQL, and Amazon Aurora. These are the 6 different SQL databases available under that RDS service. So here we have a lot of concepts like single AG deployment, multi-AG deployment, read replicas, promoting a read replica, cluster. These are the things we are going to cover in that RDS. These are the SQL databases. After that, Amazon also provides one NoSQL database, which is DynamoDB. DynamoDB is a NoSQL database. That also we will see, like for every database, for every concept, backup and restore is important. Databases, you are storing all the data and you are required to create the backups so that if something got deleted accidentally, we can recollect the data from the backups. So we can use manual backups, we can configure automated backups, and we can restore. Everything will be covered in the RDS. At the same time, for the DynamoDB database also, the same manual snapshot, automatic snapshots or automatic backups, point in time recovery, which is some kind of advanced restoration method. That will be covered in that. And there is one more feature exclusively available on Aurora database, which is called as backtrack. So we will compare that backtrack with the point in time recovery also. That's completely into the database instance administration. We are responsible to maintain the database instance. We don't deal with database administration. We don't get into the data tables or whatever exists in that. Just we will take care of the instance on which the database is running by configuring the backups, by improving the performance, by creating some kind of a read replicas and creating a cluster to maintain the high availability. That part we will handle. And after these databases, we have one more type of a database which can be used for big data. What is a big data? Data warehousing, right? Just we will go through that Redshift service with an overview, because that is not for us, that is completely for big data analysts or data warehousing engineers, because already we covered all the databases. That's why we will go through this, like how it works, what is the use case, and just we will create one Redshift cluster, and that's where we will stop. We don't do any data analysis on or something on the Redshift. Just we will create and we will see how it works. After the databases, there is a monitoring service called CloudWatch. CloudWatch is a monitoring, because whatever the servers or services you create and maintain in the cloud, that has to be monitored 24/7. By using this CloudWatch, you can monitor your resources, like how much CPU is utilizing, how much RAM is getting utilized, what is the disk utilization, like how much space is left on your hard disk, and whether the service is running or not. And you can monitor log files also. And if something is going wrong, you can configure some alarms. What is the alarm? It will do some kind of an alert. There is a fire alarm, right? What is the job of the fire alarm? If there is some temperature which is more than specific degrees centigrade, automatically it will create some alert in form of a sound. In the same way, if you create some kind of an alarm, it will send you an email alerts if something is going wrong in your cloud environment. That we will cover in that particular CloudWatch. And after that, we have some small topics called application services. There are few application services which is our responsibility. We need to create and we need to use. And there are few application services which can be used by the developers and the DevOps. Example, there is one thing called simple notification service that we use. Simple email service that we will use. Simple queue service that will be used by the developers and the DevOps. Simple workflow that will be maintained by sysops administrators and the developers. And there is one thing called elastic transcoder. So these are the different application services available, and we will cover all the application services. And after that, we have some developer tool called Elastic Beanstalk, which is a kind of platform as a service. Just you can upload your code, and that code will be, your application will be deployed and your application is accessible. In just single line, I can say that if you upload your code, your application will be available to access. And then there is a DevOps tool, which is CloudFormation. CloudFormation, that is a type of infrastructure as a code. Like they will write some templates. With the template, automatically the entire infrastructure will be created. Automatically the servers will be created, storage will be created, network will be created, everything will be created automatically with the help of a CloudFormation. And then we have another service called a Lambda, which is a function as a service. It is a developer and a DevOps tool. We will use that Lambda to perform some kind of a sample action. Like we will upload one image, so that Lambda function will read the image and it will compress the size of the image, and that will be stored in different location. Like if you upload, if you are sharing some image in the WhatsApp, what will happen? The image will be compressed, right? If you upload 5 MB file, the receiver will receive like 150 KB file, because to save the space, the WhatsApp will compress the images before deliver. So that is an automated process. There is no person that sits in front of the WhatsApp server and they don't compress it, right? So that is possible with this kind of a function as a service. And then we will see some kind of DevOps tools introduction. Like what is a DevOps? What are the different types of DevOps tools available? How each and every tool works. So every tool we will cover, like a kind of a quick overview and the use case of the tools. And then we have a kind of AWS calculator. By using that, you can get some kind of estimates for your cloud environment. Let us say I have a requirement to create 5 databases. So what will be the monthly charges if I create that particular database? That I can get some kind of estimation using that AWS calculator. After completing all these topics, we will deploy one kind of a web application with high availability, high security, using multi-tier concept. Whatever the topics, individual topics we covered, we will combine multiple topics together, and we will see how a production web application will be deployed for the production uses. Like high availability, that is a mandatory. Security, no unauthorized person should communicate with your applications, right? So that we will implement in that kind of a project. After that, we will go with some kind of practice questions, which will be useful for your certification exam or facing the interviews. Mostly we will cover the scenario based questions, like giving a requirement or a scenario, and you have to find out the solution or the root cause of that particular requirement. Those kind of questions we will cover in that particular practice questions. After that, if you have any questions, we will take some additional sessions to clear the doubts. And once we start the sessions, I recommend you to take down the running notes. Apart from that, because the cloud continuously, the features will be changing. So if fixed nodes will not be useful, but whatever we discuss, you can take a running notes. And apart from that, I will provide you some PDF documents, and I will provide you the class notes also, like a kind of quick points. And I will give you the notes like what are the tasks you have to do. Like whatever we implement in the class, I will show you the practical, and the same thing you have to do on your own. While you are doing those kind of a practicals, if you got any issues, you can contact me. Like you can ask me in the next session, or we are going to maintain a Telegram group where you can post your queries with a screenshot of the error or something, so that like I can provide you some help instantly also. So this is the plan to complete the AWS, and daily like the sessions will be like maximum 1.5 hours, like 6 to 7:30. And it will take almost like 60 days to complete all the topics, whatever I mentioned here. And apart from that, there are small topics also, which I forgot to mention here. Like there is one thing called Elastic Cache, Redis, Memcached, small topics there are, but we have to cover that were missed in this particular course content, but that has to be covered after the database section. So to cover all these things, it will take like almost like 60 days. Okay, right. So this is the plan to cover the entire AWS. And once you complete this course, you can go for a solutions architect associate level certification. That is the most demand certification in the market. But I never say the certification will give you a guaranteed job. Just that will help you up to some extent. But based on the certification, there is no 100% job guarantee. The job will be depends on how technically you are sound, like how you are facing the interview. So always you have to focus on the technical skills. Along with the technicals, you should be having at least medium communication skills. If you have 100% technical skills, and if you don't know at least a medium communication skills, they will keep your profile aside. Because whatever you are doing as a team, you have to communicate with the team, right? So always at least a medium level of communication is a mandatory. That doesn't mean that you need to know like high level English or something. Just a basic verbal English with a good communication is enough.